Traitor, well, welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. Very, very hot right now.
Yeah, so far so good. Enjoying the air conditioning upstairs.
Doing well, overheated. It's been a long ride, you know.
So let's make another round. Introduce yourself and tell me what you do in the band.
Sure, my name is Greg, lead vocals and lead guitars in Traitor.
Brian, backup vocals, lead guitar and Traitor.
I'm Joe, drums, backup vocals, and lead vocals.
Okay, so what were the origins of Traitor? Who wants to start on that one?
I guess I'll start. Like, Greg and I, we've known each other for a while. I used to do sound for his old band, and then my old band as well. They kind of like mutually fell apart at the same time, and just, you know, from doing sound for Greg's old band, I knew he could sing and play, and I was asked him if he was interested in doing like a thrash kind of project, and he said he was, and I was like, just find a drummer, and that's kind of where it all started. So, and then we just started jamming from there. He introduced me to Joe, and that's where it's all kind of began.
And what year was that?
That was
fall.
2012.
Fall 2012.
Fall time of 2012 was when I started seeing Joe. Joe was introduced to me through a mutual friend of ours that Joe played hockey with, actually. And it was funny, we just recently did an interview with a guy in Australia, and our mutual friend that introduced us now lives in Australia, so it was kind of a funny coincidence. But yeah, we just, you know, sent him a text message, just tried to get up with him, and, you know, a couple awkward jam sessions later, we started practicing as a full band, and it all worked out from there. You know.
2012, how did you guys manage to stick around so long?
I think just mostly just making sure that we're all kind of talking about whatever decisions we want to make, really discussing anytime we're writing a song, just dissecting what directions we want to take it in. It's really just about collaboration, making sure like nobody is kind of like an overlord in the band, like making all the decisions or anything like that. We all kind of like outside of the music, we all have our strengths and things like that as well, that collectively just really helps when it comes to logistics, trying to fund any recordings or merch or anything like that. So really just trying to make things as equal as possible, and again, just talk as much as we can if any problems pop up.
Why the name Traitor?
The name kind of came about because Greg and our bands fell apart, and we just felt like our former band members were total traitors. Like, they selling out, like not playing metal, just going for all the wrong things. So that was where the name came from.
Yeah, I think it was just it was a mutual thing where we felt like there were certain people in our groups that just kind of, you know, were kind of part of the downfall of both of our groups, you know, mutually in many ways. So it just, and it was for me, it was Brian's idea, but for me it was like, okay, I could kind of relate to that. You know, my last group, it was just I did so much for everybody in that previous group, and it was kind of terrible the way that they treated me in return and things like that. So this was kind of a reaction, so to speak, to those situations. So that's why we took the name.
So when you guys formed, who did you want to be like? I mean, what were your influences? You know.
Go ahead, Brian.
Definitely like a lot of the German thrash and the more extreme thrash, speed metal stuff. So Destruction, Creator, Sodom, and then huge Merciful Fate fan. I like a lot of the Canadian stuff, Razor, Infernal Majesty. And then, of course, like classic stuff like Exciter, Judas Priest, you know, just the 70s metal. Really, it was like metal from like 77 to 85, which I think is just like kind of the perfect era of metal. It didn't quite kind of go off the rails with the extremeness. It was just real raw, honest, and pure. So that kind of stuff.
You named some really great bands. How long did it take before you found your own sound?
I think I would say like maybe we're even still coming into our sound. It's just you know, we just have like certain things we like to adhere to. Like, we like to tune to standard and just, you know, stay very much in the vein of like that early 80s speed sound, but, you know, just keep the songs catchy and the riffs cool.
How did you go about getting your name and music out there?
Honestly, right now it's all about social media. When we first started, it was pretty much basically Facebook, and there wasn't a whole lot of tools available to you. Now it's a lot easier to you can use hashtags a lot more frequently. You can promote your pages on Facebook and you know, pay for boosts and things like that on Instagram to kind of get more people that are relative to the audience that you want to see your things. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to pay more than you'd like to because Facebook likes to kind of throttle things, but it's, again, anything that you can do to get your name attached to something like a website, web sign, YouTube, any type of reviews, interviews, anything like that you can kind of share. Helps people kind of just see that you're getting out there, and it also introduces you to an audience that, you know, you might have people that are just checking like a Zine every single day that are really dedicated to it, but otherwise may not have ever seen you, because Facebook and Instagram are a very big place. Bandcamp's a really big place. So anything that you can do to kind of spread that web and just attract more people is really the way to go.
Me personally, I think that the way that I wanted to put our name out there was to make ourselves a little bit different musically as well. I think that that was most important for me personally, because this kind of ties in with the previous question that you asked. You know, we wanted to put together a thrash band, which is great. But I came from a very different world before I started this group with Brian. I was doing more along the lines of 80s hard rock and hair metal kind of things, and that's great, because in a way that kind of tied into this music still and allowed us to have certain grooves and focus on riffs and melodies and songwriting and things like that. And it just felt like the scenes in a lot of areas were getting diluted with a lot of the same subgenres and things. A lot of things being, you know, mainly death, or it's, you know, nuclear assault style, you know, speed metal and things like that. And I wanted to do something a little bit different musically, and I think that that's also something that also pushed our name and kind of helped us stand out amongst the rest, you know. So that was very important to me. That's all.
What would you say your songs are about?
Everything, anything and everything. I write about, I kind of write backwards, so with any of the songs that I write for the group, I'll start with actually the music, which for some people is backwards, because I know a lot of people like to write the lyrics first, and then they write the music around the lyrics. I write the music first, and then I kind of listen back to it, and I think about what it makes me feel, what visions I see, what do I think about when I hear that song and that sound, and then I start writing. That kind of gives me the theme, and then I start writing my lyrics upon that, and making those with the music. So.
What was your local scene? I believe in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
What was it like?
It's just like been up and down all over the place. So it's like, it's weird to say we're like coming up on 10 years. So I guess like we saw like the tail end of like this kind of epic DIY kind of metal scene in West and South Philly, and it's kind of evolved as like, you know, people have gotten older and things have changed. But Philly is really, it's a city of transplants now. It's the people who are from like the scene when we started, none of them are really here anymore. They're either in different parts of the country or doing something totally different. Very trendy and
Very fashion punk.
Very youth derived and very trendy. So it's like, it's always kind of evolving, but we just kind of like, you know, stick it out and find other bands we like in the city and play with them. So it's like nothing special at this point. And ever since COVID, it's been like floundering, like a lot of venues closed and stuff like that.
So you finally have an album out, right? You want to show the record?
Yeah, that was crucial.
Right there.
This baby right here.
Yes. Last Hope for the Wretched.
Yep.
Can you explain that title? Because I believe there's a story behind it.
Yeah. I think it kind of has something to do with like us trying to stand out amongst, you know, the typical scene and also the typical bands that are in the scene, and kind of wanting to be a little bit different, and kind of being that last hope of real, having that traditional 80s thrash and metal sound, but also I love bringing in, you know, elements of the European metal groups, you know, the greats like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and, you know, every one of those guys. So I think it's just we're kind of the last of a dying breed almost, is what it is, who really play that kind of style. You know, everything is so run by just extreme metal music, which is all great. But I think we wanted to do something a little bit different. I think that's kind of what ties into this topic, for me anyway.
Yeah, I think I really kind of feel like sometimes each of us kind of have like a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, just kind of the way that things went before we started the band, and just the way the Philadelphia scene especially kind of goes. Like there's a lot of like really extreme metal bands. Like when we first started out, it was basically all just like black and death metal and stuff like that. Like we played a ton of shows with like grindcore bands, like not a lot that was really kind of like us. So I feel like something like Last Hope for the Wretched, like Greg said, I kind of feel like we've always like stood out a little bit, but I feel like we've always really kind of tried to lean on not going with what's ultra trendy. There's like 100 bands that come and go in any given year, especially in Philadelphia, that just do what's popular right then and there. They release like one demo and then they're just they just disappear in a cloud of smoke. But so for us to endure for, like Brian said, almost 10 years, I think we've been pretty successful in that. But I think we still try to really kind of harness that chip that makes us a little bit different.
Sounds good. I'm looking at your logo, and there's a clear touch of Motorhead, right? Which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. Tell me how it came to be.
It was just like, we wanted just like the standard, like, we are speed metal logo. Like,
Yeah.
that was really it.
Motorhead rules.
I actually I had a different concept of it than from the way it came out. I actually was going to have the city kind of showing in the front, and we would be like a small couple of figures out in the distance. That was my initial idea. But no, this is beautiful. And Lauren Gordick is her name, correct? Who did the
Did the
illustration?
art.
She
And
did a
Julie did the
fantastic
logo,
job.
my sister.
Yes, and Julie, his sister, Julie Rado, did the logo and everything. So just the way it came out is beautiful. So
Awesome.
I was very happy with it.
Let's talk about the songs. You have the record in front of you.
Yeah.
Look at some songs. Tell me what they're about. Anything you can say.
Okay, I'll go with that. Syntroducer is the intro to Take Over. The words are the chorus is actually Take Control, which is what it is. But we went with Take Over for the title. I think we just want to do something different with it.
I think it was the song. The song is just kind of about, again, the theme of sticking out and not kind of going with trends. And I think I kind of came up with like saying like, oh, let's call it Take Over instead of like Take Control, because the umlaut looks better over the O. And it's
Right.
kind of
That's
it's
true.
slightly a play on just kind of like being
Yeah.
trendy.
Right.
Like people just kind of throw anything they can on whatever they can to just
Right.
like make it look shiny. So that kind of felt like was a nice little, like almost like an Easter egg there, kind of. It's about the origins of the song. and
Yeah,
what it's about.
this song's kind of it's kind of an ode to that exact mentality. Like, don't be like everybody else. Kind of do what you want to do. And for us, that was, we wanted to be like, essentially do a sound similar to really the 80s groups, the Europeans, and also the American, the thrash groups that became so famous, and that's very near and dear to me. So, I even put out some little Easter eggs in the lyrics and such that kind of allude to some things of the '80s that some people may understand and some people may not. So, that was part of it. The next song is a Zed. Joe came up with that title. That was a Zed. Don't say the Z word.
Don't say the Z word. That's
Don't
from
say
Shaun
the
of the
Z
Dead.
word from Shaun of the Dead. So
I always wanted to write. It sounds cliche sometimes, but it's like some of the topics that people write about in metal are still like fun. It's like everybody's probably got a song about zombies, but I wanted to do it myself. So I love the line in the movie Shaun of the Dead, where he goes. He starts to say zombies, and then Sean goes, "Don't say the Z word." So it always just kind of made me chuckle, and I wanted to write a song about that. So me and Greg kind of worked on the lyrics. It's just something where it's just post-apocalyptic, pretty standard. But in the point of view of the people in the song, if you will, they do not make it. Hence the finishing line on the verse, "Screaming in pain as I'm eaten alive," which we have printed on the back of our shirt, which was designed by Matt Ferry in Philly. So all of us as zombies, and again, don't "Screaming in pain as I'm eaten alive" on the back. So I think it all kind of tied in really well together.
So, for the speed of things, we won't just go over every single song, but maybe just pick one more.
okay, that's fine.
go with
We'll
that.
pick one more. That's okay. Cool. I'll quickly touch on Why They Fear the Night, so I can do two. So Why They Fear the Night is pretty much, it's the story of Conan the Barbarian.
Buy one,
Yeah.
get one free.
Two closing statements, huh?
So, because I'm very proud of this song, and Joe and I co-wrote this song together, so I wanted to definitely make sure it got a mention here. Why They Fear the Night, track number 5, is the story of Conan the Barbarian, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and everything that we did up into even leading into the guitar solo, where he talks about taking a swing with the sword and taking off Tulsa Doom's head. That was all planned, and in the way that I even hit this natural harmonic right as so he says "Barbarian King," bang, and that's kind of supposed to represent the swing of the sword that takes his head off, and then I begin my solo, and then his reign of greatness after that. So I wanted to give that a shout out. It was a great song. And then for me, I would want to also encourage the final track of the record, "Luxury." It's a track that excited a lot of emotion for me writing it. It's actually a track of encouragement and hope, really, more than anything. It's meant to kind of help people understand that you have to look for deeper things and deeper meaning in life than just possessions and material wealth. You know what
Yep.
I mean? So that's kind of what it brings to me. And I think, and I've had a lot of great response from people about it. They say that just the music in general makes you, it moves you in a way, makes you feel something, and that's very near and dear to me.
When you die, you can't bring your luxuries.
Yeah, that's it.
What feedback are you getting on this album?
Overall, it's been pretty good. Like, seems to be people are very receptive to both the production, mixing, as well as the songwriting. Seems to be good. There are some haters out there, but there always will be. But overall, it's been pretty positive.
Yeah, people I think really just love how like just pure it is as far as the sound that we try to go for, which is really just kind of reaching back into the 80s and kind of harnessing that energy in our own way. There's a lot of people that like we had the album put up on New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal's YouTube page, and there's like 70 comments where people are just like, oh my god, this sounds like Razor, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like you kind of peruse through and everybody's kind of got their own take on like, this sounds like so-and-so, or sounds like so-and-so, or like it's just really positive feedback. So they're all mostly kind of like that.
Out of all those comments you read, which one do you think is the most accurate?
I'd probably say there's one that really kind of made me really laugh. But somebody was like, I could definitely see the Motorhead influence, and especially with the logo. That always makes me laugh because we all love Motorhead, especially Brian. Like you said, one of the taglines we came up with when we made our first our Facebook page is 70s punk played at metal speeds or something like that.
70s metal riffs played at punk rock speeds.
Yeah. So it always makes me laugh when people kind of say like, oh, you guys kind of do remind me of like Motorhead with the riffs and stuff like that. It's a pretty big compliment because they're kind of on the Mount Rushmore when it comes to metal.
You're touring now. How is the tour going?
The tour's going good. We're on day 4, so it's like we're still in the early part of it, but so far so good. Just doing like a regional thing. It's great, finally having the album to tour and support, and it's been good. I'm looking forward to doing some big things next year as well.
So you formed in 2012. 10 years later, you put out a record. Will it take another 10 years for another album?
I really don't know.
I mean, that was like that all was because just trial and error and learning the recording process. Really, but that was. I mean, we had.
I'm just kidding.
We had 3. No, that's really funny. I mean, it was 3. We had 3 or 4 other releases before this one, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was 3. Yeah, and then like that was most of that. I mean, like the second release was supposed to be our first album, but it just. We kind of looked at it and just said, I don't think this is our best work. So we kind of waited and made it an EP and, came back together again. But also at the same time, it gave us an opportunity to write a lot of the new songs that came out on this record. And I'm already writing new material as this. So
Yeah, the pandemic did not help. Delayed things a lot with the pandemic, like the mixing and everything like that. Just trying to get like all the tracks finished. The studio we were using wasn't sure if he was even going to kind of survive because he runs a side business, or I think it's actually his primary business, and the studio is kind of the side. But we weren't sure that he was going to make it. So then we were like, well, what the heck are we going to do here? We're going to have to find another guy to record us. So unfortunately, just a lot of complications with the pandemic and things like that. But we were able to kind of pull everything together in mid 2021 to the end of the year and get things all squared away for release here for the vinyl in January, and then the CD here just a couple days ago.
Thank you and good luck.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for interviewing us.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.